I'm Bob Bunting, and I'm an atmospheric scientist. Formerly, I was a lead forecaster for NOAA, and I was the director of the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado. Our venue on January 25th is the University of South Florida. We'll be talking about climate change and the impacts of climate change. And the most important part is adapting to climate change. It's very important that we bring this down to the local level and that we stop arguing about who's responsible for climate change, because in fact, we're having it. It doesn't almost matter why, but while the big issue is being solved on a global basis, and it could take tens of years for that to happen, we still have to adapt and live to it in the meantime. And here in Sarasota, I say we're at the ground zero for climate change. The reason for that is we're on a 1,450-mile long coastline. That is the second longest coastline in the United States. And there are more than $7 trillion worth of real estate on the Florida shoreline. So we have high risk, but we have high motivation to adapt to climate change and to prevent the worst impacts from it. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in this conference. So in the first part of the program, we're first going to talk about climate change in the global sense. And then we're going to have some talks about how climate change is affecting weather and climate patterns in Florida. And it will include why hurricanes are becoming more troublesome for us. And the second part will be about how the red tide is enhanced by the climate change. As we all know, the red tide has been a real problem in our area, and for most of Southwest Florida this year and last year, and it's having big impacts on the economy. So what's happening and what are the possibilities of what we can do about it? Then later on in the program, we're going to bring it down even further to what local governments are doing here in Sarasota. For instance, in Sarasota County, the city of Sarasota, and Longboat Key, where we have a lot of experience growing in how to deal with the impacts of climate change, including sea level rise, red tide, and those kinds of things. And then we're going to bring it down even further into how companies are dealing with climate change. What are the opportunities to meet the threats? Because climate change, in my view, will be one of the biggest economic opportunities that the state of Florida will have in the next 50 years. So we're going to try to turn something that could be very scary into something that not only is manageable, but could have great opportunity for our state and local area. What we're really lacking is not so much scientific knowledge. Scientific knowledge and other knowledge that are necessary to deal with this problem exist in bins. What we're lacking is a place and a group to bring all that information together so that we can present it to the public in a way where they understand what the real issues are and what the real opportunities are. That's the missing piece to putting this puzzle together. There'll be plenty of opportunities for our audience to interact with a world-class group of speakers, from scientists to engineers to local community leaders, local government leaders, and CEOs of industry who will be on our speakers panel and on our panels that will interact with the audience so that we can answer your questions and give you what I would consider the real view of what's happening with our climate and how it's going to impact our local and regional area in the years ahead. And that's what we're going to try to focus on in this conference on January 25th at Selby Auditorium at the University of South Florida. And I'm looking forward to being with you and working with our illustrious group of speakers and panelists to make this real for you and to give you some sense of why we have the power to make this not just a threat, but also an opportunity.